In this video, I'm going to talk a bit about the Luminark of Hysh that was recently revealed by the Creative Assembly. It's a rare choice for the Empire army and is a magical war machine of sorts. It has a few direct damage capabilities and also some defensive capabilities that can be quite nice. Now the Luminark gives a 6+ ward save in a 6-inch bubble, so that means that any unit within its bubble and the Luminark itself is going to be able to negate any wounds caused by weapons that would otherwise pierce armor on a roll of a 6+. So that corresponds to about a 15-18% chance to reduce damage. Not a huge amount, but when that happens over multiple units, it can be very useful. And another thing about the Luminark is that its magical missiles are at strength 8. And strength 8 means that you will be wounding most things in the game very easily. Even things like dragons and other big nasty flyers should feel the pain when they get hit by a magical missile from the Luminark. Another thing about the magical missile fired by the Luminark is that it can cause multiple wounds. So you roll a dice and then you divide the number by 2, and that's the amount of wounds caused. So it's really a D3 that's being used, so you can do 1, 2 or 3 wounds. Now another thing about this Luminark is that the magical missiles it fires can also pierce enemy ranks. So what that means is that, let's say that you're firing at a unit of goblins. If you hit and wound and kill the first goblin, the missile can pass through the ranks and cause a significant amount of casualties. And even against things like cavalry with a strength of 8, armor might protect them against that, but it's highly likely that you will be able to kill several models. Now, another thing that needs to be kept in mind about the Luminark is that the Luminark of Hysh is a very fragile war machine. Can be sort of surmised by its look. It's no steam tank. It only has a toughness of 5, which means that even lowly crossbows, handguns are going to be able to put wounds on it. It only has 5 wounds itself, and that means that a lucky hit from a cannonball is going to destroy the Luminark. So you definitely want to keep the Luminark of Hysh away from any enemy fire, unless you're really lucky with your ward save, but it's not really something you can count on when there's only a 6+ save. Now, vanilla, the Luminark of Hysh comes with 2 acolytes. They are standard humans sitting on the Luminark, riding it into battle. One of those acolytes can be replaced by a wizard from the Lore of Light. So a wizard from the Lore of Light can mount this Luminark of Hysh and use it to great effect in battle. Another thing that the Luminark does is the way magic works in Warhammer is that you have something called dispel dice, and those are essentially defensive dice you can use to try and stop enemy magic, and the Luminark adds 1 dispel dice. If you have several Luminarks of Hysh, they do not add several dispel dice, but having that extra dispel dice can be very useful. If the Luminark is going to reduce enemy mana regeneration or something like that to represent this, I have no idea. But one thing I do want to mention is that I think it's great that the Creative Assembly put in the Luminark. It was only put in the 8th edition of Warhammer, and that they're going for some of the weird, rarer units, as long as they don't limit the core choices of the armies too much. I think it's great that they chose to put in the Luminark, and I think it's great that they show the units this early, because that's something they haven't done too much of in the past. So I quite like that, and I am looking forward to seeing what the Luminark is going to do on the battle. And I really look forward to start making mechanics videos about Total War Warhammer, because I have a feeling it's going to be much more complex with the devastating artillery we can field and the addition of magic. Magic is a huge topic in and of itself in the Warhammer world, and I hope it's going to be a big thing in Total War Warhammer as well. So good job, CA, in showing off the Luminark. Just wanted to provide some background about its role on the battlefield for the Empire and what we can expect it to do. Now it remains to be seen what it can actually do when Total War Warhammer comes out. Strength and honor.